Hi.
Hello. Good afternoon. Happy Friday. Welcome back to the Great Imposters podcast.
Welcome.
We have such an exciting guest today. Actually, someone, the profession and the person we've wanted for a really long time. So without further ado, I'm going to kind of give my lead in but I'm going to let you introduce yourself, but I want to give you my lead in. If you live in Nashville, this is kind of niche. You probably, or if you've visited, you've probably been to 12 South. It's a really cute area in Nashville. It's probably my favorite neighborhood if I'm
For sure.
Cutest. Like you've probably taken a picture by one of the mural walls. If you've been here, you've probably been to the donut place, all that. At the, I want to say southernmost western part of this area, you'll find a building that's called the Happy Hour, and you'll probably think that it's a bar, but it's not. It is actually a modern therapy and wellness house, and it is owned by my friend and our guest today, Miss Clara Belden. And welcome to the show.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
Thank you. We're excited to have you. So Annie and I have always talked about getting more like of a kind of clinical or therapeutic or like life coachy take on imposter syndrome because, you know, we're just two silly geese.
Silly gooses.
We're just gooses over here, like talking about it from our perspective and from the perspective it shows up in other people's lives. But like, what about from the other side? Like, you know, we're very curious to have this conversation.
Yes.
So,
but first, going back to the whole, if you walked by it, you might think it's a bar.
Yes.
Did you intend for it to be like a little play on?
Yes, that was definitely intentional. We started this and came up with the branding and the name for it and everything back in 2015, I want to say. And so it didn't come to life into the actual building until 2021. But the intention behind it was to make it really approachable, to make it cool and fun, and show that it wasn't so scary to work on your mental health. And nowadays, it's much more destigmatized and normalized.
Absolutely.
But that was our hope for it.
That's
wow.
I think you kind of manifested that. Or maybe that was a huge part of ushering in it becoming so normalized and humanized and approachable.
Totally. And I think, not to bring up COVID, but I think COVID really escalated that too, because during that time, everybody's mental health was impacted. Nobody was spared from it. Absolutely. And so I think that really, you know, we obviously didn't predict that, but it actually kind of helped our business.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm sure it did.
Right place, right time.
Right place, right time.
For better or for worse for society.
Did you do a lot of virtual counseling during that time?
We did. We weren't fully up and running yet, so we didn't open our doors until 2021 in 12 South. But we're doing lots of different pop-ups and things like that. I had a book of clients that I was seeing virtually, but we weren't fully operating yet. So
got it. Okay, so we're gonna get way more into the happy hour. We're gonna talk all about it, but first we always start with an icebreaker because we like to have fun here. On the TGIP. Okay, so we haven't asked this one yet. We love to, most of them are about food because
great,
right? So, and remind me, how long have you been in Nashville?
I've been here for 12 years, but before that, I went to school here from 2004 to 2008. So collectively 16.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you've seen all the change.
Yes.
Here's the icebreaker, food related.
Okay.
Not your favorite restaurant in Nashville. What is your favorite dish? So it can be anything from anywhere. You could do sweet and savory too. Like if you have because I have a sweet tooth, there's no way I would be able to choose. Like I would have to do like one savory, one sweet.
I am not much of a sweet person.
Okay.
So I can go straight savory. I know.
Okay.
I think this is really hard, by the way.
Sorry.
That's okay.
We like to make you think.
And now I'm going to say it and then just ruminate it on it after I leave here.
Yeah. I mean, listen, if halfway through the episode we're like really deep into something about therapy, but you're like, wait, I thought of another one. That's fine too.
Okay.
There's no rules.
So A Piece is my favorite restaurant. I know that wasn't the question, but I think within A Piece, the Sayadea.
Oh.
It's like,
I don't even know what that is.
It's like a delicious piece of grilled fish, usually Burundi maybe, which is like, I think, or barramundi, not Burundi. And it has like this delicious jasmine rice on the side, and it's like really Mediterranean and herby and lemony, and I love it.
Yum. And that's right across from the business.
It is. Yeah. So I get to frequent
We're arguably not allowed back at A Piece.
Well, how come?
What'd you do? Since you're you're in this space, so this won't bother you. We were all like going through traumatic events.
Us and two of our friends. We went to dinner.
Yeah, we went to dinner, 4 of us, sorry. And we were all like going through something big, and so we like poured that into dirty martinis and
Fair.
ran them out of olives.
They ran out of olives, and there was we were crying a lot that dinner.
A lot of crying.
And also, the food there is delicious, but it's not really martini level of eating. Like,
it's not super filling.
It's not filling.
Yeah.
It's delicious, but it's not where you go to get wasted.
Yeah.
Because you will not have enough food to like. So the last time we were there,
it down crying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think they were okay with it though, because we spent a lot of money.
I was gonna say they're pretty cool. Running
Yeah.
out of olives in a few tears feels like a pretty small crime.
That's standard.
I would try it again. Yeah.
No, we're
Okay,
gonna go
great.
back. No, I love it there. Okay, mine. I have so many, and again, I'll probably ruminate on this as well. But when I was thinking about this, the New York Leo bagel sandwich from Proper Bagel.
Okay, what's on that one?
So it's you get I guess you can pick your own bagel, but I get the spinach everything, duh. And then it's the scallion dill cream cheese.
Yeah.
And then it's almost like an omelet of, I want to say it's eggs, onions, peppers, maybe not peppers, and lox in the omelet.
That sounds amazing.
On the bagel.
In the omelet, I like that. Okay.
It's so good. And I've actually recreated it at home, and it's just an incredible flavor bomb.
Wow.
I don't get it often, but when I do, I'm like, this is everything to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to try that.
Man. I probably have some recency bias right now, but we went to a new restaurant the other night that just like blew my, I always get this expression wrong. I always say like the wrong thing. Blew my socks off.
Knocked my
Knocked your
socks off
socks
and blew my mind. Yeah.
Oh man. That's a thing called like people that do that a lot. It's called malapropping. It's like kind of a condition.
Wow, I didn't know
I do that all the time.
Okay, great.
Yes.
I do too. I always mix up like phrases but it was so good. It was called Maze de la Vida. So it is still a food truck in East, but now they have a physical restaurant in the Gulch, and oh my gosh, it was so good. And my husband is part Mexican, so I feel like we were extra excited about it because we're coming up on the time of year where we make tamales, so it's like the heritage of corn is kind of fresh in our minds. But they make all of their masa and tortillas and stuff in-house with like this heritage blend corn that is from like the guy's family. Oh my god, it was so good.
Wow.
But what was the best thing I've ever had was the birria taco there, which is that like it was pork and like it's got like a sauce that they do it. It was just so good. Everybody needs to go to this restaurant.
Wow.
That sounds
love it.
amazing.
That's a great endorsement.
Yeah.
I'm also really thankful for this softball of a question because one of you guys asked the question, "What's the weirdest thing in your house?" on one of your episodes a few months ago, or a few episodes ago, and it has been racking my brain all week.
Oh man, that's
What
so
is
funny.
the
I feel like
weirdest
that was
thing in my
Maddie's
house?
fault.
That was Maddie.
Yeah.
That's right. What was the weirdest thing in your
I don't think
house?
I would ever ask that because I still don't know.
I know.
That's
Yeah.
really funny.
I haven't stopped thinking about it. I'm not gonna lie.
Probably like my daughter's tooth, but that's not that weird.
No.
Either.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Oh my god, how funny. Well, those are always fun. So let's just kind of back up in your own words. Clara, just tell us about you. Give us your stats.
Sure. I am a 39-year-old. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio.
Ohio.
Yes, Ohio. And I went to Vanderbilt undergrad 20 years ago. Yikes. And moved away, lived in South Florida for a little while, came back to go to business school 12 years ago now. I am married to my husband, Wesley. We've been together since I was 18.
I did not know that.
And I'm 39, so
Wow.
it's been a long time. I've now known him for more of my life than I have him, which is kind of wild.
So college sweethearts.
I actually met when I was a senior in high school.
Oh,
I know. So we were long distance throughout college because he went to do University of Florida.
Wait, how did you meet them?
So it's a really convoluted story.
Okay.
But I used to be a competitive equestrian. I used to do show jumping. And I would travel all over the country. I did it really seriously. Thought I was going to be a professional. Like, was positive that was what I was going to do the rest of my life. And his dad is a horse veterinarian who was he was our horse's veterinarian at the time.
This is like a Hallmark movie.
I was just going to say, this is a movie.
You know, everyone always says that.
Yeah.
And then one of
Yeah.
these days, I'm like, maybe we should make a movie out of
You
this.
should.
Yeah.
But when he was at University of Florida, he would come down to Wellington, where we would compete on the weekends, which is a little town in Florida, and he would work with his dad. And so we met through the barn.
That's
Wow.
so cute.
Yeah, and we kind of got set up, and he came to prom with me.
Oh my god. How cute.
Wait, is he a vet?
My husband is not a vet now.
Okay.
Yeah, he was thinking about going that track and just loved working with his dad and helping him while he was in school. So, but no, he's not anywhere in that realm now.
Okay.
That's so funny.
That's so cute.
And now here we are.
Wow.
Yeah. And then we've got 2 kids, Frances, who is my daughter. She's 7, and George is 5.
Oh, man.
And 2 dogs.
And that's how y'all know each other from school?
Yes.
Okay.
So cool. I actually think I remember telling you this, Annie. I was at the Ensworth. Oh, do we want to say that? No.
I'll cut it out.
Cut. I was at our daughter's dance recital, and it was like a very hectic seating situation. And I was sitting behind Clara and her husband, and we were just making conversation. We hadn't met before. And I think I was talking to Wesley first, and it just got to the point like, oh, we were just having small talk. And then I was like, what do you do? And I actually wanted to say this on the podcast, so I'm glad this came up. Wesley is like the most supportive husband I think I've ever seen.
Aww.
Like he really is so sweet. Anytime I've seen him interact like with you in your business, he's like, I feel like he's just like your hype man, and like he's really sweet.
I can't stop smiling.
I know. But literally my first impression was I was talking to him because he was directly in front of me, and I was like, what do you do? And he gave me what he did in like 2 seconds. He's like, Clara here owns the happy hour. Have you ever heard of it? And I was like, I like immediately start fangirling, and I texted you like right away. I'm like,
you did.
I was like,
so
we have to get her on the podcast. This is back in April.
Yeah. It was April.
So look, we're here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
that's
so
how we
happy
met.
that it happened.
Yeah.
I know. I was thinking about that this morning too. It's so funny.
It's so funny.
So tell us about your origin story of getting from business school to happy hour.
Yeah. So I went to business school and specialized in brand management and strategy, which I know feels like a really far departure from where I am now.
But it makes sense.
But it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And backing up from there, I grew up with a huge passion for mental health. It's just something that's impacted my family in small and huge ways across generations. And it always felt like something that had to be hidden or couldn't be talked about. And it was so hard to figure out where to go to find care, because when you can't talk about something, it's really hard to know how to address it, right? And obviously you could talk about it, but it was just, there was so much more shame associated with it back then.
And Midwesterner, I'm from Ohio too. I feel like there's a Midwestern layer too.
Yeah.
This like grin and bear it kind of generation.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like we are tough. We can get through anything. I can deal with this on
worse.
my own.
Yeah.
It could be worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be worse is like such a pure form of gaslighting.
Oh my
Yes.
God. Or
Right.
like, you should be grateful that XYZ.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
That's
that
like-
doesn't work on me.
It's such a trigger for me.
No, that doesn't work on me.
No.
You should be grateful. It's like, well, I am, and I'm upset about something else.
Well, you should be grateful is just riddled in shame, right? When somebody
Exactly.
tells you that. So, yeah, don't let it work on you. But anyway, so have a huge heart, lots of life experience with the mental health world, and just this frustration over why can't this be like anything else that we do, going to get a massage, going to get your hair done, going to the dentist even is even more desirable for a lot of people. So anyways, went and did brand management for a few years for a big corporation. And when you are in brand management, you are like, at least for this company where I was working, you are the owner of the brand. And so you get to learn so much across functions. Like I was in marketing, but I had to own the P&L. You have to, liaise with operations, R&D, all of that. And so you kind of are running your own little business. And I went into that interview telling them like, I want to own my own business, run my own business one day. I don't know if that was smart or not, but
Yeah, it worked.
Like, hi, I'm here for now.
yeah, I know. Probably a
Teach
little
me everything.
faster than they thought. Yeah, I know. Yeah. And so then from there, my cousin and I, who I originally started the business with, were talking one day, and she's like, wouldn't it be so cool if you could just go talk to a therapist, like you could go get your nails done? And I was like, yes. And she's like, why can't we do that? And I was like, why can't we do that? And that's when the ideating and all of this started. And we rolled out with a bunch of different pop-ups and things, kind of testing the concept here in Nashville, and kept cruising with it. And here we are today.
That's amazing.
Wow.
What an inspiration. I feel like having that confidence to even just say like, I really want to own a business, and then really making it happen like that. It sounds like a simple thing, but it's really, really hard to do that. And it's really gutsy to do that.
Oh, thank you for saying that. And it's funny you say that because I never have seen that as confidence. I have seen it as like, I have a really hard time with not being truthful. And even though in an interview, like, you're allowed to leave out things, but I can't lie. I get really nervous. It makes me feel uncomfortable. And so it's always just benefited me to tell my true story a little more.
So did you ever, of course we'll get to imposter syndrome throughout the interview, but what this has me thinking about is, so you yourself are not like a licensed therapist.
Correct.
Or a mental health professional. So did you have moments of feeling like, I can't do this because I'm not licensed myself?
Yeah, I did. I definitely had moments of that. But then as we continued to go down researching, and I met with tons of licensed therapists to be like, what do you think? Mm-hmm. And I actually found such a benefit in not being a licensed therapist, from having the business end of it, from having the marketing end of it. It's a really antiquated industry too, yes. Right? And so being able to come in from an angle that didn't have such cuffs and guardrails on it, and being able to shake it up a little bit was actually such a huge benefit. And then to be able to bring on these incredible qualified licensed people to be in-house. And it's such a lesson in being like, okay, well, I can't be everything to everybody. I can't wear all the hats because, and I even thought about like, I was just going to go to school and get my license and do the 200 hours of supervision and all that. But I really had to pump the brakes on that because can't. And
I love that because you're exactly right. You bring a value of having that kind of brand management and marketing and essentially owning a business even before this experience that someone who is a clinician doesn't. So that's extremely valuable, like, to bring that to the table.
Yeah. Thank you. It was that was something I had to tell myself over and over.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
So tell the audience just who's unfamiliar, because I've never seen anything like the happy hour before. We have listeners in Nashville, but we have listeners all over.
Yeah.
So sorry if it's not down the street for you, but
sorry, we're so worldwide.
Sorry, we have the coolest city with the coolest therapy house. Tell us about the services you offer and your staff, because I'm sure someone's listening to this in the car and they're like, I want to Google this place, and then they're going to forget when they get out of the car. Yeah. So tell everyone a little bit about what you offer and the type of people that work for you.
Sure. Yeah. So we offer psychotherapy with licensed therapists. So that's anywhere from psychologists all the way to licensed clinical social workers to licensed marriage and family therapists. And so they all do one-on-one therapy and couples therapy. If you're interested, then we also have life coaching, which is much more about the here and now and moving forward. So maybe some people do both. Some people do one at a time. Maybe you have really uncovered some past traumas with your therapist and you've really worked through them and you feel good, you've processed them, but you're kind of like, what do I do now? Where do I go? Mm-hmm. The coach is going to be the expert in helping you take those steps forward.
I love that. And
teaching you the tools you need to be able to support yourself along the way. And help
you do that.
I do that, yeah. And then we've also got energy work, and we have sound healing, which I also do too. I became certified.
You do? Okay.
I do.
Wow.
Yeah.
You have the bowls?
I have the bowls. I've got the gong and more. Yeah.
Powerful.
A previous guest of ours, Maddie, just got her sort of got trained at Shakti Yoga.
Okay. I did mine through and Sensing over in East Nashville.
Okay, cool.
Oh, yeah. I follow her on Instagram.
Yeah.
I love sound healing.
Love it.
It is magical.
Mm-hmm. It really is. It was one of the things when I was turned on to it when I was pregnant with Francis. So I don't know, 8 years ago, because I was so anxious. I've struggled with anxiety. And when you're pregnant, at least for me, it was like through the roof.
Oh yeah.
And you can't really take anything. Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't back then, but, there weren't a lot of options for me. And so when I went to these sound baths with Anne, who now has certified me, it was life-changing. It was like the only time of the day where I felt out of my head, in my body, some sense of relaxation and relief. And for somebody who is typically pretty skeptical of those things and much, at least at that point in my life, much more of an analytical thinking person, I was sold. I was like, if this can work on me, I've got to know what the science is behind it and what the magic is behind it. So
that's so beautiful.
That is.
I've heard so many testimonials of it being life altering.
Have you done it?
Yeah. No, which is
we have to,
because I love all this stuff.
You
like
guys
I'm
come
bought
do a
into
sound
everything.
bath.
Yeah, we need to come do a sound bath
Anytime.
Oh my
God.
God.
Treat.
Don't say that.
Yes.
We're supporting your business.
So I actually someone got me, okay, so I too have our kind of background and relationship with mental health sounds similar, of like it was it was everywhere, but no one was allowed to talk about it kind of growing up. And it was pretty obvious though that there was a lot of stuff we needed to work through as generations. But so started therapy, but was skeptical of things like energy work or sound baths or
the woo-woo stuff.
the stuff people call woo-woo. But now I'm like fully bought in. I love it all. Like if anywhere you can combine Eastern and Western medicine and different modalities, I think is how to live a happy life. But I got an energy reading at the happy hour.
Did you?
Yes, like a year and a half ago. And I was trying to look up before this the name of the woman who did it, who was wonderful.
Kim, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was so amazing.
Oh,
and
I'm so glad.
I know, and I would do it, like I should do it more, but she was very clear and like kind of gave me, her read, and then was like, this is a good thing maybe for you to do like annually to kind of check in and see where you're at. But I mean, it was just like life altering. And in the energy reading, she kept going back to the fact that this like old timey key was showing up in her vision for me. And so thinking about like to the listeners, thinking about like maybe like a skeleton key or like the Alice in Wonderland, like big intricate key. And I was at a friend's house probably like 8 months later at my best friend from childhood's house in Ohio. And we were just having like a really wonderful time, and it was a really important trip when I went back home, and just a very like spiritual weekend. And we went over to her mom's house, who also has a large role in my life, and she had like a big skeleton key in her centerpiece on her island.
Wow.
And it was like, I remember like writing it down in that moment because I was like, wow. And then ever since then, I was just sold. And a lot of like conversations and things that happened that weekend were life altering. And it was like, that was the impetus of that. So
wow. Yeah.
I loved it.
That's so good to hear. Thank you for sharing that. And it's just like, who knows what the key meant? Maybe you were able to then reflect on it, but it just sounds like such validation.
Yeah,
like,
it was. It was validating.
Right where you're supposed to be.
Exactly. It was that feeling. I'm right where I'm supposed to be. And some of the like the conversations and things that we like did that weekend were validated. Yeah. Yeah. So
I
just
love
wanted
that.
to share that.
Yeah, we got to get back to the happy hour.
Yeah.
Annie brought up a good point and something we wanted to talk about. I don't know if we want to do that now or go back to it, but let's just do it now.
Yeah.
So I think one of the largest appeals of your business and your model and your branding is like what we're referring to, this like convergence and marriage of clinical traditional therapy with some more alternative, right? Methods of therapy all in one place. Because even my therapist, who I've had for over 10 years now, I do a lot of that stuff on the side. Like I'm the weirdo crystal girl. Like literally how many times today did I already say that Mercury is in retrograde and that's why everything's going wrong? Like I'm totally leaned into being weird. But he encourages me to do that stuff, but he doesn't facilitate any of it. You know what I mean? So it's like, you're like a one-stop shop for body, mind, spirit, right?
Yeah.
So what was the idea or the vision behind that?
Well, we really wanted to make this easy, right? Like the whole point of the business was, yes, to make it destigmatized and normalized, but also to make it approachable, easy, but also high quality. And being able to kind of help someone wherever they are on their journey is really important. And I think that you can get so much from the clinical side, and I wouldn't recommend just doing one of the two, Eastern versus Western, but you do so much with the clinical side and therapy, which is wonderful, or life coaching. But the woo stuff that we're talking about feels like the icing on top. That feels like the unlock. That feels like where you begin to self-actualize, which is like that top portion of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? And I think a big piece of it, and it's something that I personally experienced, as I mentioned before, my stronger muscle was my mind, right? Like I can think my way through any situation, I can problem solve. But what I was finding in my life is that even though I was making all the quote right decisions, I felt completely off in my body. Like I knew something wasn't right. I knew I wasn't showing up as my authentic self. And when you're not showing up as your authentic self, you can't find your purpose. You can't feel full meaning. You can't feel fully fulfilled. And so when I personally started to unlock that kind of feeling side through some of these more somatic modalities like energy work and sound healing, it just opened up this whole new world. And all of a sudden, this is going to sound super woo, but my intuition unlocked, like my body's been telling me clues the whole time, but I finally started to listen to them. And the ability to realize my authenticity and my authentic self was just like a game changer. I mean, it was like a complete step change is the word I'm looking for from how I had been living, which was very much externally driven of how can I please everybody else? How can I seem like I've got it all together versus like actually being happy?
Wow. Yes.
That's really powerful.
It's so powerful. And that is listening to the way that we feel. We're trained, like even starting as a baby, I feel like we train it out of ourselves to like listen to our own body and cues. And like the more I've done a lot of work on this too, like the more you can get closer to understanding, like feeling good in yourself and like listening to the different things that are happening, whether it's like even if it's like illness wise, you could have pain or something that's a manifestation of something mental. And so
absolutely,
I'm just rambling.
No, it's true. And
it's
I think
like fangirling, fangirl rambling. But
I think this is such a huge moment for Annie and I too, because we've wanted this episode for so long. Like we talk about this stuff all the time, and just we've had plenty of episodes on therapy, mental health. We actually did an entire episode on medication because we're both proponents of it.
Yeah.
Because we're both customers.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. I'm a purely sales pitch from a customer.
Yeah. No, I'm a huge believer in medication as well.
Absolutely.
Because they can all go together.
Absolutely.
Like, there's room for everyone at the table. And by everyone, I mean your Zoloft and your sound bath and whatever else.
And your traditional therapy.
Yes.
And your EMDR, whatever you need to be doing, you can do them all. And
in harmony.
And you can like still take vaccines. You can do all the things at once.
Yeah.
Right.
All the medicine can hang out together.
That's right.
100%.
All the modalities.
And I feel like what you were just saying before, though, when you were giving your own testimony of everything you kind of just said, it's what everyone should strive for, to like really be in alignment with how they feel and their body. And what you said is so true. It's hard to conceptualize until you feel it. It's like my body is literally rejecting this right now. Yeah. We've even had past episodes of like as something as stupid as like someone is making plans, or I'm in the room with like or friends that I'm not super close with, and I just don't like the way I feel.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not going to spend time with those people anymore.
Yes.
They're lovely. They're fine, but I don't want to be, my body doesn't want to be here.
Absolutely.
Like it's energy. It's all energy. And it sounds so silly sometimes when you say it like that, because it's like suck it up and go to a party occasionally, which you do, but you also don't have to put yourself in positions where your body's like telling you like, I don't like how I feel right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and it's not silly because look, we're all incredibly busy people.
Right.
And you have to say no sometimes.
Yes.
And so maybe your mind is telling you like, oh, well, you should do this. Maybe it's good networking, or I don't want to hurt such and such's feelings.
Yes.
But something's got to give. And so take that clue. Your body is telling you like, I'm not gelling with this.
Yeah.
It's nothing bad about them. It's nothing bad about me. It's just not a great fit. So I'm going to sit this one out.
Correct.
And I talk a lot in therapy about, like for me personally, about trying to, when you're presented with choices like that, are there times where you can take the gentler decision? And that kind of goes along with that as well. Like think about this season where it's demanding of everyone. It's especially demanding of parents. Like there's party invitations, there's school things. And so like, yeah, you should go to your kids' school thing. But if there's, you know, a holiday get together that doesn't make you feel happy to attend, and that's the gentler choice to not go, then great.
Yeah,
don't go.
Totally. I mean, I think that with relationships in general too.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point.
So going more into imposter syndrome. Well, one thing we didn't ask because we were on such a good tear there, but going back, because we always like to ask everyone this question, and it might not be related to anything we've spoken about. When you hear the question, what are you great at? What comes up for you?
Yeah, I had a bit of a hard time with this at first, which you said I would. But I think what I'm really good at is helping people realize their superpowers and helping people realize their strengths.
I might need to give you a call after this.
Yeah.
Come on.
Is there a conflict of interest because we're friends?
No.
Okay.
Wow.
Because that is what a gift.
What a gift.
Right? Like to be able to, that's because I think one thing that comes up a lot that I love what people say is when people say I'm really good at listening to people and helping them through something. And there's a lot of variations of that, but like helping someone really like put an actual label or like put like a noun on like this is your superpower. That's a really big gift you could give to someone.
Thank you.
Have you always had it? Like, do you remember?
I have. I think, you know, I tell this story about how when I was in like grade school, kids that weren't even in my class that I didn't really know would come up to me and just start talking to me and telling me everything that was going on with them. And I didn't quite know what to do with it then. And now I've kind of honed it. And I really think that this listening to my body piece of it too has really enabled me to connect on such a deeper level with people and help me read people better. So then be able to peel back the layers of the onion with them and help them get into their body, right? Because it's really hard to teach that if you haven't experienced it yourself.
You do have a very calming presence too.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. So calming.
Yeah, like Andy and I are like so in your face, and then like
yeah,
I feel like you're just like very zen.
Well, sometimes I need to like amp myself up a little bit though because it comes off as a little dull. But
no, I wouldn't say that.
No.
Yeah. I mean, I ordered Uber delivery the other day to happy hour for lunch, and the delivery lady came in and she was lovely. She dropped off the food and I grabbed it from her, and before we knew it, I mean I didn't ask any questions. She was telling me all about her sister who had recently passed. I mean, we sat there and talked for about 20 minutes.
Wow.
And I was kind of like, and then she's like, what is this place? She didn't even know what we did.
Wow.
And I was like, okay.
Are you religious?
I grew up traditionally Christian.
Because I always wonder if that's like, you know, sometimes people like, a lot of times I feel like when people say that, like, that's my calling, or this is my, you know, in some ways, like this is kind of what I was meant to do, or I was put here to do.
Yeah. I mean, I'm religious. I have faith, definitely.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean,
but that story about the Uber driver, that right there is like a testament to energy. Like she walked in, she
picked up on it.
Yeah, she picked up on it.
Yeah, that's so true.
And divulged.
Yeah.
Wow.
Unloaded.
I keep thinking too about the special kind of thread of horses and how is it pronounced equine therapy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like equine therapy is huge.
Yeah.
It's popular in Nashville. Like I know a couple people that do it. And there are a lot of people that swear by it. Like I know it's like really helpful for addiction. It's helpful for like trauma healing. And so do you ever think about just, I guess, like having grown up around horses? Like, was that impactful?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It was so impactful. And I am such an introvert. Like I get really energized working with people, and I love being around big groups of people, but I have to retreat and have my space. And so going to the barn was like my retreat.
Okay.
And again, not to like drill down on the energy too much, but you sit on a horse, and if you are anxious and amped up, they can pick up on it, and they're not happy. Like you don't even have to be doing anything, but if you're relaxed and you can work through that, like it's such a conversation back and forth without having any words.
Yeah.
Wow. I've never ridden road.
Have you sat on one?
I don't know. Should I?
Ask your mom if you ever did as a kid.
I'll have to. Yeah. I can't remember a time that I did.
It's like it's powerful.
It looks really scary.
Well, if you go in with that energy,
Yeah.
the horse is going to be like, I'm about to buck this.
Yeah.
biatch."
Well,
get off
it's
me,
just
freak.
like the horses, they're huge and they're powerful. It's
Yeah.
like they could do whatever they wanted to you, and it's just, but they don't most of the time.
It's a submitting kind of thing. It's like you're
Totally.
giving control to the horse. But that's very interesting. So I would imagine that like as a kid and as a just a teen and in college and stuff, like you had that bit of therapy built in, like getting to sit on the horse. That's
absolutely
cool.
That was my total retreat. That was my therapy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I love that.
So I love horses. I think I might push one of my kids to be a horse gal.
I was gonna ask, does Frances ride horses?
She just started riding.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's
and
great.
she's obsessed with it. It's great. However, it is one of those sports, I guess, just like any other one, where once you get in and if they get really competitive, it is like your whole life.
It is.
And then you have to invest in a horse, which I'm not ready to do yet.
Right.
And yeah, so it's a lot, but she's loving it. So we're running with it for now.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love that. So this show is centered around imposter syndrome, and we think that there's such an interesting angle from the clinical side or even just the therapy side,
Yeah.
the life coaching side.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
So can you just, I'll just ask an open question.
Sure.
At the happy hour, how often with your patients, let's start with that. The
Okay.
people who come in that
Okay.
you treat or see, how often does imposter syndrome come up?
Oh my God, every single time.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, can't speak for everybody else, but I would be shocked if it didn't come up in everybody else's sessions too.
Yeah.
I mean, and the research shows like some says 70, but most say 80% of people experience imposter syndrome.
Martha Stewart doesn't. I don't know if ever
Martha Stewart and men.
Yeah. That clip, there is a clip going on right now. Have you seen this clip on Instagram?
No.
She did an interview recently where I forgot who was interviewing, but they were like, have you ever experienced, they couldn't even finish the word imposter syndrome. She's like, no.
Oh my gosh.
Which is
Isn't
so
that wild?
Martha.
I
Like,
love her so much.
Me too.
Yeah.
But it was so funny, and so many people sent to our podcast page. Like so many people were DMing that clip. So
That's
but
so
yes,
funny.
Other
Okay.
than Martha.
I know Martha says that, but I can almost guarantee you she's experienced it at some point in her
She probably
life.
just doesn't know what it is.
She
I
probably
mean,
just didn't know
probably
what it
in
is.
prison. Like when she was in prison.
She's probably like, I don't belong here.
Yeah, exactly.
100%. And women do experience it more than men, but maybe it's just because of the type of person who's coming into the happy hour. So I'm a little biased, right? They're coming in because they want to work on themselves. I work with a lot of men who definitely and will admit that they struggle with it.
We met one this summer at
Really?
a thing. A guy was like, "What's your podcast about?" And we told him, and he was like, puzzled. Like had never heard that.
He had
term
never
or
heard the
anything.
term.
No
He was
way.
weird. Yeah.
Yeah, but that
That only happened once though.
They're out there.
They are out there.
Yeah.
This is not research, but I also feel like women, or maybe it is, I just don't know. It's more of my like aside, but I feel like women have like a low grade imposter syndrome consistently.
Yes.
Whereas men might experience it acutely. And
Like a canon event of imposter syndrome.
Exactly.
Like they don't get a promotion or like they're not. Yeah.
Exactly.
Ah.
That is such a good way of framing it. And I think it's so true.
Yeah. I was going to ask you too, I don't know if you're allowed to share this, but what percentage would you say your practice serves women versus men?
We are actually growing with the amount of men that we're seeing now, which is really
That's wonderful.
encouraging.
I love to hear
It's-
that for society.
It's
Okay.
amazing. Yeah, I would say, I mean, traditionally, or years ago, it was like 20% men, 80% women. I would say it's more like 30-70, 35-65 even
Okay.
now. Yeah.
You go, men.
I know. Way to
That's
go, guys.
so wonderful.
Snaps for men.
Snaps.
And then what about life coaching? Are you seeing more men?
Mostly women in life coaching, but
Okay.
starting to see more men for sure because it's very action oriented, and so
Yeah.
that's helpful for them.
Do you think men are less willing to seek answers from other people? Like, do you think they're more reluctant to be coached?
It's hard to generalize.
Okay.
In
like, let's just offend them
my
all. No.
yeah, I know. In my one-off experience, no.
Okay.
But also, they're the people who are signing up and coming to
Right.
pay and walk
Right.
through the door. They are pretty motivated to get something out of it.
Okay.
That's true. It'd probably be a different if we're talking about like if we were talking to someone's boss, maybe.
Yeah.
Like from a,
Totally.
Or if we were like just going out to an event in the world.
Right.
Like
we were like blind surveying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like a group of people.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit for our listeners, because after we did the anxiety episode and the medication, we did two. After we did our episode centered around mental health, we got a lot of feedback of like, you know, thank you for talking about that. I didn't know where to start, and I kind of feel like I do now. But we also hear just out in the world and having this podcast that a lot of people enter into therapy or enter into life coaching very much just wanting it to be like, tell me everything I should do. Answer every question.
Yes.
So I guess how would you frame it around that expectation if someone's looking for just kind of a pamphlet of go out and do this?
Yeah, that's impossible.
Yeah.
Okay.
You gotta put in the work. And it is definitely more of a long-term thing. It's so great if you're in coaching and you're like, I'm coming because I don't like my job and I need you to help me find something new. You know, something that's finite, that's one thing.
Okay.
But for the most part, people will come for at least a few months and then maybe even take a break, you know, whatever, go away for a little bit and then come back when they need something. But it is not something where we can just be like, here's our toolkit, go use it. I mean, I myself, and I do this for a living. And so I'm really well versed in all these tools I have for myself. I've been in therapy for a decade and I haven't gone every 2 weeks for the last 10 years, but I've got at the foundation and I still go back probably once a month now just to have that extra support system.
That's good. I think that's good for everybody to hear. One, so that if you are somebody like all of us who's been in it for a decade, you know that that's perfectly normal.
Yeah.
And it's not like you're not making progress. And two, if you're going to therapy with the intention of it to be like, you know,
Fix me, tell me everything.
Yeah. Fix me, solve this one problem, and then I'm healed. Then that's not the goal. The goal is for it to be like a lifelong.
That's so funny you even said that because I've never looked at therapy as there's like a finish line. Like I guess
a lot of people do. Though.
I guess people
They
do.
do.
Like for me, I go in and out. Like I've gone months without it, but I don't even realize it's been months. Like I'm like, oh, I just haven't had a session. It's never like I'm done here.
Right.
Like what does that mean? I'm done as a human?
Right, exactly. Well, and I think it depends on the type of person too, right? Because I'm the type of person who's like, you pull back one level, we solve one thing, and then I'm like, ooh, but then this came up and I want to know more because it feels so good to understand these things that are
so good.
causing you friction or causing you anxiety or causing you sadness, whatever it is. So it's like, okay, if I can understand that one, then I can understand this next thing that pops up and my life is just simply improved.
Totally.
But there's a lot of people that are like, I'm going through a breakup, ipso facto, I'm going to go to therapy. And then when I feel over that person, I'm done.
Absolutely.
And that's fine to get you through that. But then the truly curious person would be unlocking a lot more throughout that and then be like, wait, this journey has just begun.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We always say if everyone was in therapy, I think the world would be a better place, but
I agree.
we're getting there.
We're getting there.
What about you personally? Has imposter syndrome ever affected you in a way that you can talk about?
Oh my gosh, yes.
What in the most? Because you're a lot of things. You're a business owner. You're a female business owner. You are a life coach. You're a mother. You're a lot. You're a transplant. Like there's so many. You can come at it from any angle.
I think where it shows up in my life most in this season is being a life coach. When I have a argument with my husband, or if I'm having a down day, or if I'm feeling really anxious over something that's happened, and my inner dialogue is, I have all these tools, I teach this for a living, I coach people, how can I not fix this for myself right now? And that one is really hard. And that's something that I talk about in therapy, and my therapist is like, every single one of us experiences that, but we are only human. And these triggers, whatever's triggering your anxiety or sadness on a certain day, those things have been bubbling or being created and percolating for decades, right? Like whether it's since you were a child or in high school or whatever, all these things build up. And so it's not like you can just use these tools to snap out of it every time. There's things that I know how to do to really help myself, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to walk through life without ever having an argument or making a mistake or snapping at my kid.
See, those are two completely different skill sets, in my opinion. Like, you being able to facilitate that for someone else is completely different than you being able to facilitate that for yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
It is.
That's like a child psychologist, if I've met them before, and that's like me assuming that their kids are perfect.
Yeah.
Like, that's not how it works.
And logically it is. But I've had people say to me before, like, oh, is that how you would talk to a client? And I'm like, oh, no.
Like the way you talk to yourself, you're saying?
No, I'm like, I said something to a friend once, and I was angry at somebody, and I probably wasn't being the most zen, like, life coachy of people, and I said something that was probably mean and shitty, and I shouldn't have said. And they were like, is that how you would talk to your client? Is that how that?
Well, you're not my client, you asshole.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Is that what you would tell your? Yeah.
You're not paying me. You're just being a dick. Like, what do you want me to say?
Or like, is that what you would tell your client to do? And I was like, no, but you're not my client.
Right.
You're my friend, and I'm venting. Isn't that allowed?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
that's really hard.
It is. It's a lot of it is mainly my own perfectionism or insecurity, imposter syndrome. But some of it is validated by external people.
Yeah. What is your advice for listeners, like, when you have that moment of the wrong kind of validation, like the validation that validates that inner dialogue or that story you tell yourself? Like, how do you recover from that, even in the moment, even in the next like 10 minutes?
Totally. So for a lot of people, the first reaction is going to be, again, that bodily reaction. Like, for me, it's, I know my heart starts racing, my chest feels tight. And so it's like, okay, get out of fight or flight mode, take a few deep breaths, like, notice your 5 senses, whatever your like quick in the moment tool is to get your mind back online, so you don't just continue to fly off the handle at that friend or whatever. And then, saying whatever you need to say to that friend. But self-compassion is so important in this moment. And that looks like self-kindness. So talking to yourself in the way that you would talk to somebody you love. And that can be inside your head in the moment of like, hey, you're doing the best you can. I know you're only human. Sure, you made a messed up, but that's okay. The other piece of self-compassion that I think is so helpful that a PhD who I love named Dr. Kristen Neff talks about is common humanity. And that's basically saying that, so she has done all this research that shows that of the billions of people that live on the planet, we all share a very limited number of self-limiting beliefs. So self-limiting beliefs are like, I'm not good enough. I don't deserve love. I don't deserve happiness. Out of all these billions of people, there's only like, I want to say 20 limiting beliefs. So we all are experiencing the same thing. But when we are feeling like imposters, we feel so alone, right? We think we're frauds. So if you can say to yourself in this self-compassion moment, like, gosh, it really stinks that so many people feel like they're not enough. Or like, then that is automatically signaling to your brain, like, you're not alone, you belong.
Wow.
And I know that sounds like this like really long train of thought to do, but I always tell people to practice it in times that you're not in distress or that you're not like getting a crappy comment from a friend back, so that you start to create those neural pathways that in that moment, you've already practiced it so many times, then I can quickly, in 2 seconds, feel that self-compassion to myself.
Wow.
That's really powerful.
Neft, N-E-F-T.
N-E-F-F.
N-E-F-F.
That's really powerful. I like that a lot. I'm going to take that one home.
Yeah.
Everyone just got a free lesson.
Next time you'll better pay her. Okay?
Yes. Send your invoice, please.
That is so powerful. Just the common humanity, like, I feel like we talk a lot now. Maybe it's because of how much more omnipotent like mental health is now, or mental just awareness of taking care of yourself has become, which is great. And also social media, I feel like it's talked about a lot more. But this whole notion of like the human experience too, it makes me think of that, of like I always go back to when I was in corporate America and I was a little brat who thought I knew everything, and a boss of mine finally was like, you need to employ the MRI theory, which I was
just thinking about that. She taught me this, and I was thinking about it as you were bringing this up.
The most respectful interpretation of someone's behavior.
Oh, I like that.
Which I lean on again, and it took years of like building those neural pathways of like, okay, we're both humans. What are they experiencing right now? how can I relate? I felt this way too. And it's just so powerful and reaching for compassion instead of being like I used to be, which was a huge hothead. Yes.
Totally.
Just another Annie ramble there.
I love the MRI.
MRI. I'd never heard that before. I really
She might have made it up. I don't think she listens to this, but if she does and she made it up, she'll let me know to get credit.
I love that.
But yeah, MRI. Yeah. Or maybe it was it might have been a Microsoft thing they taught too, but it's been powerful, but it goes to that just human experience, common humanity.
Yeah, we're not in this alone.
Yes.
The thing with imposter syndrome is that, I mean, the word imposter, you feel like you don't belong. You feel like you are the only one feeling this way. But what's crazy is if you look to your left and your right in any given room, chances are that person next to you is feeling similarly.
Yes.
So it's just ironic.
Yeah. The only people I don't want to have imposter syndrome are surgeons.
That's a really good point.
You know what I mean? Like, they're the only people I'm like, be the most arrogant mofo.
They need to really know they know what they're doing.
And you better believe you belong there.
Yeah.
But when you meet them, oftentimes they are pretty self-assured.
Yeah. Yes. No, that's why. Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
I met a pediatric cardiologist.
Oh, wow.
Who does open heart surgery on babies, and very, very self-assured. And I was like, that is exactly.
That's what I want operating on
100%.
That's right.
Yeah. Like, great.
So I think eventually we have to get you back to your real life, but we cannot leave without talking about the app.
Oh, yes.
Right? So Clara recently launched an app for your phone. Or your device of some kind.
Or your wearable device.
Your wearable device. I think I was about to say your iPhone, but I'm pretty sure it's Android compatible as well. Yeah. So you green texters out there, you can participate too. And it's called the Happy Hour app.
It's called the Daily Happy.
Okay, so pretend I didn't say that. It's called the Daily. I have it too. I don't know why I said that.
Okay,
it's called the Daily Happy.
Yeah.
So tell us about. So now you're like kind of a tech founder.
I guess so.
Right?
Like, who knew that was going to happen? That wasn't on my bingo card for last year. But
right. So what's the journey there? And tell everyone about the app, because if you don't live in Nashville, you can get a taste of the Happy Hour.
Yes.
On your phone.
Absolutely. And we also do virtual sessions too.
Oh,
just so you know.
Look at that. So you can get all of it except the cute location.
Yeah, totally. So we created the Daily Happy out of a frustration over the fact that we have, over the last 7 years, since before we opened, have just sat on this gold mine. Well, I think it's a gold mine anyways, of content and tools that we've created for people, whether it's for our one-on-one clients or we've done tons of groups and workshops. We have all of these incredible tools, frameworks, information, and we wanted to be able to compile them and disseminate them in a way that could scale to people who can't come to our offices in Nashville. And so that's when we had the idea to create the app.
Wow, that just makes my heart burst from like an accessibility standpoint, because that is the kind of other side of the coin here of like, it's so hard to have these conversations without also recognizing that mental health therapy or any of this stuff is not accessible to everybody.
Yeah.
Whether it's financial or physical location or what. And so that is just like, that's so cool. Thank you for doing that.
Oh gosh. Yeah. It's, and it's not a replacement for therapy, so to speak, but it's so helpful, and it's such a support tool. And we've got meditations on there. We try to make it so you can listen to it on the go. We call it your on the go mental wellness companion.
Wow.
We have what we call tools that you can sort them by categories, whether it's stress and anxiety or mindfulness or self-care. And there's different tools in each of the sections. There's articles, and there's also audio casts, so you can listen to it in your car, where myself and my colleagues will be talking about whatever the concept is, kind of similar to this actually, and teaching you the tools that way, so you can kind of listen to it wherever you are.
That is really, really cool.
That's amazing.
And to not be precious about kind of your, the intellectual property of the Happy Hour, and to realize that it's a very important set of resources that people deserve to be able to access is very selfless. Thank you. That's very cool.
It's an honor. I'm just so lucky to get to do what I do.
I love that.
The Daily Happy. Download it right now. even if you're driving.
iPhone or Android.
iPhone. Don't get in a car accident, but if you're driving, listening to this at your next red light, just whip it out.
Yeah.
Don't get a ticket. I don't want to be liable for that.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's so awesome. Clara, you are just like such a bright light. You really are.
You are.
Thank you for saying that. That's really
no,
nice.
you are. You're really just such a calming force, and it's just not a surprise that people just like to like unload on you. Like
I know
you are such a good listener. And
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm here
I mean,
for
I kind of did it like 6 micro times throughout this, so I get it. Yeah.
So what would you leave our audience with if, you know, either someone's struggling with mental health or imposter syndrome or anything? Like, what's the one token you'd like to leave great imposters with?
Talk about it. Whether you're talking about it with a friend or with a professional or in your journal, like, don't bottle it in. Don't hold it in. There's so much research that shows that, you know, the issues are in your tissues. You hold on to this stuff. So let it out. You're not alone. And there's always somebody there that will be happy to support you.
Amazing. I love that. Perfect way to end.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming. This has been a long time coming, ever since I fangirled at the dance recital.
I mean,
she did text me immediately like, oh my God.
I was like, oh my God, guess who I'm sitting next to at the dance recital?
It was meant to be.
It was.
I love it.
I love it too.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming. Well, this has been Joelle.
This has been Annie.
And this has been Clara.
Heck yeah. We'll see you next time.